actually been working with business to business firms, so commercial healthcare, property, engineering, infrastructure, and so on. But I have a real passion for working with much smaller startups, and working with these new ideas and businesses has actually been a real perk of my recent career. We go on to the next slide. So today I'm going to introduce you to a very simple approach to marketing planning, which you can start using today and continue to come back to as your business grows. Next slide, please. So this is it. Told you it was simple. So I'll take you through how to set a course for your marketing, how to keep on track, how to be clear what you'll achieve, and when you actually reach your destination. And I'd encourage you to take notes as we go through. So hopefully by the end of this session, you'll have the start of a really great marketing plan. So the next slide, please. The magic's not in the marketing plan, it's in the ideas, the creativity, and the focus that you pour in. So, and hence the image of a pot, the magic's not in the pot, it's in the ingredients and the timing. So, why do a marketing plan to start with? I think it's good business practice, it's common sense. It ensures that your marketing objectives are really well aligned with your business goals and your business mission to become successful. It formalizes your ideas and concepts. So I know that I'm often thinking of different ideas, different ways to approach things, and when I actually write them down, they're much more likely to come to fruition, or indeed I'll discount them if they're not aligned to those business goals. Again, keeping you focused, so there's lots of marketing tools and technologies available, and it's very easy to become distracted, I think. A well-written marketing plan can keep you focused on what you really need, and also make sure that you don't waste time on things that you don't need. Helping to establish tasks and timelines. So a good marketing plan really lays out clearly defined objectives and makes it easy to identify the tasks that need to be done, and of course a timeline necessary for completing those tasks. Importantly, especially so for startups, it can help you obtain financing. So a marketing plan as part of an overall business plan is absolutely essential, and it really instills confidence in your lender or your investor that your business will succeed and that you've done the thinking behind that. Next slide, please. So to start with, we'll look at where we'll actually finish. So in your marketing plan, the executive summary will be the opener, the introduction, and a very, very clear distillation of your marketing strategy. So while it goes at the start of your document, you can see that it makes sense to write it at the end. So I've written an example here. New Wills will grow our share of market by focusing on young urban parents. We will build brand awareness in this target group through paid advertising on parenting blogs, specific promotions, and partnering with Instagram influencers. We expect to increase sales by 32% in the next 18 months. So you can see that there's been a whole lot of work behind that to get to that final distilled message, which will go at the beginning. Next slide, please. So where we'll actually start is on what we do and who we do it for. So right back to basics. What's the nature of your business, and what are clients and customers actually buying from you? So jot down now what you do and what you're actually selling. What problem are you solving? So in these examples, for example, we make the longest lasting and most reliable car engines in Europe. So this is a car engine manufacturer, and what they're selling is peace of mind. Then we have a software developer who's taking the pain out of homeworks. So we develop the most pupil and teacher-friendly online homework portals in the industry. And finally, on a smaller scale, I'm a one-woman property executive headhunter, priding myself on the breadth of my network and the depth of my industry relationships. So this is essentially a recruiter providing a very personal touch in quite an automated industry. Next slide. Drilling down even further then to what we do and who for, let's jot down some key attributes of our target customer. And I think a good way to do that is by asking yourself, who's your target audience or target client or customer? What are they influenced by? What's their decision-making process? How big is this decision for them? Is it a work decision or a social one? And I think it's key to really bear in mind that either way, it's an emotional decision. So if I look at my business as an example, my target client would be probably director level decision maker, responsible for marketing or wider business development. They'd be influenced by the Financial Times, The Economist, probably technology and business blogs, maybe some marketing blogs or magazines, and by their peers in the industry. They're likely to be quite digitally savvy, so I could look to engage with them on video, that kind of thing. They're career focused, so they might attend business networking events. They're probably empowered to make decisions by themselves, but would probably ask for advice or may need some help in making the business case to their CEO or HR director. And how big a decision is it? Well, I'd say hiring an agency is an important decision because it will help them reach their objectives and likely their bonus and the emotional things that they might want to spend that bonus on, children's Christmas presents, holidays, that kind of thing. But it's relatively low risk in terms of if it doesn't work out, they can seek another agency. It's not that they're hiring a permanent recruit. Next slide, please. So that's really key to understand. And I think so now we've got the what we do, who for, and now we need to set ourselves up for success by researching who we're actually competing with. And this is a really important step in before we set our own objective. Next slide. Okay, the slide hasn't yet moved on. The next slide is the SWOT analysis. Thank you, Dahlia. So this is a very often used but very highly effective way to undertake this analysis using this SWOT approach. So SWOT stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And if you're using your marketing plan to gain funding, investors will absolutely expect you to have done this piece of work. So to have done the thinking behind how you maximize your strengths and opportunities and how you mitigate weaknesses and threats. So for example, if you're running a homemade cake company and your number one competitor might have 2 more members of staff than you, so they can fulfill all much more quickly. So that might be a strength of theirs, but it doesn't necessarily mean that the decision you would then take is to hire 2 more members of staff. It may be that you don't yet have the income levels to be able to do that. But to compete, your marketing might actually celebrate that you're a one woman or one man band and have this as a key differentiator, but at the same time being very clear on your delivery times and keeping your customers informed throughout. You might actually offer things like discounts if customers order 3 months in advance so that you can keep on top of your orders and ensure that you have happy customers. So for this process, gather as much information as possible. So through desktop research, sneakily calling up a competitor, pretending to be a customer, or even focus groups. So it's a great way to actually access your target market or even get friends around and ask them for their points of view to then really enable you to make some rational decisions. It doesn't mean that you need to take the same approach as your competitors, but you do need to be aware of what they're doing. Next slide, please. So now that you've got a clearer idea on the clients you want and who you're competing with to get their custom, you're in a really good place to start with objective setting. So you may have heard of SMART objectives. I'll just quickly go through what that means. So the S is specific. So is there enough detail to sufficiently pinpoint the opportunity? Measurable, kind of says what it does on the tin. So whether it be quantitative or qualitative, can we assign an attribute to actually have a metric to see how well we've achieved this? Actionable, so can the information be used to improve performance? Relevance, again, says what it has on the tin. Time bound. This is really key because your objectives will change. So you may have a set of objectives for your first 6 months, and then another set for your 5-year plan. So, for example, we want to achieve a 10% online revenue contribution within 2 years. Very, very specific. It says the amount, from where, and within an amount of time. And again, increase the average order value of online sales to £42 per customer by year end. You'll keep coming back to these objectives and reviewing how relevant they are. So really challenge yourself. Next slide, please. So the next step after setting these objectives is, of course, considering your tactics to achieving them. Next slide, please. And you're absolutely spoilt for choice in terms of channels. There's all of your online channels and social media, with new social media and new routes to market emerging all the time. You've got your, I suppose, quite time heavy but really, really qualitative things like events and meeting people, but again, quite time consuming. So rather than jumping into what channel you'll use, I would start with what stories can you tell? So where can you connect with your target audience to say that we care about the same things, we understand you, we can save you money, these kind of things. So really understanding what the problem is that you're solving, going back to the work that we did to identify who those target audience were, what are they influenced by, and have a long list of channels, but then how you'll actually use them. So there's lots of pros and cons for using digital, PR, social, promotion, events, etc., etc., etc. And I think the more that you know about who you're trying to reach, the easier you can make these decisions. Keep going back to target audience. Keep going back to the objective. Next slide, please. So you'll have your long list of channels and your ideas about how you're going to use them. Then you need to put some time and money against each of these. So how long will they take? How much of your time or the time of your supporters or your team will these take? Think about what your skills are. So include that in the budget. So whether you're doing your own social media or not, I'd probably put a monetary value on how much that social media, if you were to get an intern in, how much that would cost. Think about partnerships and promotions. So it doesn't necessarily need to be a financial outlay immediately. It could be something where you are working, using the example we had earlier of Instagram influencers, sending them a free sample of something to get them to speak about it. I mean, that's advertising, but it's not a direct cost. And do your research. So don't just put numbers in there for the sake of putting numbers in there. It's really, really important to make sure that you have set enough and really to set yourself up for success with your marketing plan. Next slide, please. The next one after that. So this is the marketing results at the bottom. So measuring success, and there's a whole load of ways that we can do this. So really final piece of the puzzle, but really important. Again, consider what you will measure based on your objectives. So if you are looking for an amount of revenue coming from online, obviously that's what you'll measure. Traffic to lead ratio. So it may be that you're looking at your conversion rate. So rather than actually trying to get more people onto the site, your focus might be on turning more of those people that come onto your website into potential customers, into leads. Search and social, so it may be about increasing your following. Your objectives for your first 6 months might be all about just brand awareness, and then looking to kind of convert those into sales in the following 6 months. open rate. So if you are doing a monthly newsletter, you might want to just say, I'm really keen to not just increase how many people I'm sending that to, but I want the people that I send it to actually open it, number one. I want them to forward it on. So there's lots and lots of things you can do, including asking your existing customers how they heard about you. So it's all about measuring how well each of your channels is actually performing. One thing just on the online that's absolutely crucial, I would say, is to use Google Analytics. And Google want you to use their products, so they're very helpful at actually guiding you through, and it gives you an amazing amount of insight into who's clicking on your website, what site areas are really important to them, how they're coming through. Is it direct traffic? Is it through social media? If social media, which channel is performing best? So that's a big one that I would use. Next slide, please. So I wanted to put this all together. So if we take our New Wheels example, so going back to that executive summary, that marketing strategy at the beginning. So they want to grow their share of the market by focusing on young urban parents. They'll build brand awareness in this target group through paid advertising on parenting blogs, specific promotions, and partnering with Instagram influencers, and they expect to increase their sales by 32% in the next 18 months. So looking at their product and their target market, they provide the biggest range of children's wooden play vehicles in the UK. Their target market are urban first-time parents. So that's a bit of research that they've done, which says possibly spend on child number 2 or 3 is not as much. So they're really targeting first-time parents. Possibly even with 2 or 3 children, there's not as much space for wooden play vehicles. So they've really done their research here. They've looked at their competitors and said Go Faster is a big one, but they don't use sustainable products. So that's something that they have found is very important to their target market. So the fact that they do use sustainable products would be something that they would really push in their marketing. They're looking at setting objectives, and they want to increase the average order value of online sales to £300 per customer by the end of the year, and gain a 30% increase in online share of voice. So that may be that for everybody that buys a product, there might be some accessories that they want to sell as well online, and share of voice online is something that they can easily measure, and that they would do through much more kind of social media, blogs, that kind of thing, storytelling, as we said earlier. Tactics and channels, they're going to be really focused. They're going to use stories and imagery from existing happy customers on Instagram. They're going to collaborate with influencers online and increase their spend on AdWords, which is another Google product. Budget, they're going to give themselves a budget per month on Google AdWords, £500 giveaway to Instagram influencers, and they're going to spend £1,000 on upgrading their web shop. So they've really focused in on where the money needs to be spent. And then results at the end, well, sales will increase by 30%, by over 30%. They'll have strong business relationships with target influencers. Web traffic will be up by 200%. So they've obviously done their research on how many visitors they need to result in a sale, and that the visitors to their website will mostly be new direct traffic. So people actually typing in newwheels.co.uk rather than just stumbling upon them. Next slide, please. So again, just going back to this very simple basic outline. It's a simple but very powerful approach to planning marketing that formalizes ideas and concepts, keeps you and have a team very focused, establishes those tasks and timelines that need to be done, can help you obtain financing, and most importantly, helps you achieve your overall business goals. And then the final slide, Dahlia. So that's it. Dahlia, I assume that you will send some slides around afterwards. I don't know if there are any questions.
So, can you hear me?
Yep.
Everyone hear me? Yeah. So, thank you so much, Elizabeth. That was amazing. Yes, I've recorded it, so I will send the recording, and it will also go up on the website. And I'll just leave it to. I'm not sure if I'm saying your name right. I know. If you have any questions,